Welcome, Fedi Friends, to episode 10 of Fireside Fedi. I'm your host, Ozoned. Fireside Fedi is a show about folks within the Fediverse. If you're seeing this, you're a part of the Fediverse. I'm very excited about my guest today. I'm so excited, in fact, I actually shaved my head and shaved my face, and I took a shower. But to be fair, I was just working out, so I had to do that anyway. But if I didn't, I probably would have done those things because we have Dansup. Dansup is just a guy from Canada building things for the Fediverse, as he put it. So you probably don't even know him. He's not anyone big. Oh, wait. I'm being told he's made a couple of things for the Fediverse. Also, he's an aspiring astronaut, a community creator, and a determined dreamer. He's currently building Pixelfed, an ethical and federated photo sharing platform powered by ActivityPub. Other folks might know him from Loops. You might also know him from FediDB, or what was the other? Fedi Info, or Sup, or his very successful Kickstarter he just had, or PubKit. But Dan, thank you so much for joining me. How would you like to be addressed, first and foremost?
You can call me Daniel.
Daniel? Okay.
Yeah.
Daniel it is. Well, thank you, Daniel. Everyone, you may call him Sir Fediverse Daniel of the Fediverse folks. So,
thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited. So, just to let folks know, I was really worried about this because I've never really done social media. So I was waiting for like toxic people to come out and be like, yeah, he doesn't have Daniel. He's just saying that to get numbers or something. And it's like, we tried. He is a very busy man. I'm a very busy man. So, but we're here. We finally made it. I'm very excited. Yeah. So, Daniel, how did you get to where you are today? Did you grow up like, I really want to help change the world on a totally decentralized network and create a place for people to share images and videos and just keep building all kinds of things? Or were your ambitions growing up a little bit more restrained than that?
Yeah, they were more restrained. I've always been interested in technology and specifically social media. And around the time of 2011, 2012, I installed a GNU social server, and
Yeah.
I ran it for a couple of years, and that's when I really got really interested in this form of social networking, the completely open source and decentralized or federated model. And I, around 2016, after I decided to go a different way, it was still in the back of my mind that I wanted to continue on that path, but I wasn't really sure that GNU Social was the software for me. So that's when I started Pixelfed, and
So
that was in.
Sorry, go ahead.
That was in April of 2018. That
Wow.
Pixelfed was the first ActivityPub project created after the ActivityPub spec was published, and it was published in March. Yeah, it was published in March of 2018, and then a month later, I announced Pixelfed, and yeah, so it all started around the time of ActivityPub. So it's pretty cool how we've come so far in this journey alongside the protocol itself, in a way, because
Yeah.
we've been here since day one. And even though it did take us like a couple months to federate, we didn't federate out of the gate, which was kind of controversial back in the day. But yeah, no, the origin story of ActivityPub Pixelfed does have its roots in GNU Social. And
okay.
And we've been heavily inspired by Mastodon as well.
Is GNU Social shut down, didn't it? Or did it not?
Yeah.
No. Did it?
Well, it's still, I don't know if Diego was still maintaining it, but he did around the time that I started Pixelfed. He started working on an ActivityPub plugin for GNU Social. So he actually brought GNU Social into the ActivityPub Fediverse, which is pretty cool.
Okay. Yeah, you definitely predate me, man. I didn't even know that ActivityPub, that the Fediverse existed until about 2017. And I was kind of like one of the earlier folks on it. So like you
Yeah.
really predate me. Like I didn't even know about GNU Social. That's awesome. That's crazy. And then
Mm-hmm.
since you made Pixelfed, it's just been quiet and easy sailing from there,
It's
right?
been very easy. Well, yeah, it's been steady because I've just been basically marketing the project to existing Fediverse users. I haven't really made a concerted effort to go beyond the Fediverse until it reaches a more stable point where we're just seeing now with the mobile apps being released and stuff. The platform has seen a lot of maturity and growth, and it's becoming more stable and more friendly to newcomers who aren't necessarily that familiar with the concept of federation.
Yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
Well, we're gonna come back to all the different projects. We have a lot. In case folks don't know, Daniel has a lot of projects, which we need to be grateful because Daniel and Daniel has said this before on the Fediverse. Like he could have sold this stuff and he didn't. He gave it away, right? And
Hmm.
that's the true open source mentality, and I think that's
Yeah.
great. But to bring it back a little bit, about you, what
Hmm.
is so you're busy, right? Again,
Yeah.
Pixelfed, loops, sup, FediDB, all these things. How do you manage all of that and yet still maintain free time, still maintain sanity? Like, do you have any hobbies, or what do you do to de-stress?
I hang out with my friends, listen to music, and watch TV with my partner. Took my dog for walks, and we had a very active lifestyle, like camping and stuff in the summertime. But really, the only like people often say like I have a lot of projects and how can I do everything? And you got to really think that I started FediDB in 2019, and I started Loops a couple of like last year. So a lot of these projects have been stewing or in development for a couple of years already. So it is like originally Loops was a Pixelfed feature in 2019, and then in
Oh,
2020 we basically dropped the feature because it wasn't where it should have been. And I picked the idea back up in 2023, and then throughout worked on it throughout 2024, and then announced it and got like I think over 9,000 people to sign up before we even had a
wow.
website for it. It was just a form, and there's been huge interest in loops ever since. And um, we would have probably been a little bit more further in development with loops had the huge rush in January for Pixelfed not happened. Um, we released the mobile app and everything, so I have a lot of things to keep track of or manage, and it's all about
Yeah.
picking like the best one to that really makes sense. I have to really carefully apply my time, right? And so before getting too crazy with loops, I want to get pixel fed into the into a more solid state in terms of stability, feature completeness, compatibility, and the team that we're assembling now, that we've assembled over the last couple of months, has really helped in that regard. We have designer, we have 3 new app developers, we have project managers, so they're
Oh,
all
wow.
helping to bring this new vision of Pixelfed V2 to life. And we're working not just on the app but also on the new web UI and the associated features with that. So it's really exciting.
Oh, wow. So is this? Do you have a Pixelfed LLC or anything that has hired everyone into, or how do you go about that?
Uh, no, we're in the early stages of establishing a nonprofit foundation here in Alberta, Canada.
Nice.
And so basically, these are people that are just contributing right now to the open source code base, where they're not employees, but we do want to get the funding there eventually to be able to hire people full time so that they could work on
Yeah,
Pixelfed. Hmm.
that's awesome. That's amazing,
Yeah.
and good on you for doing a nonprofit. Um, that's I think someone that has contributed so much to open code could probably agree with me. We've been down the path of big monopolistic tech companies, and at this point, like we kind of need nonprofits to step in. I mean, Proton is that Proton for like
Mhm.
Proton Mail and thing, and I believe Eugene has Mastodon as an nonprofit, right? So then
Mhm.
Pixelfed is going to have. Are you going to have one like with Pixelfed and loops and all of that underneath it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome.
Mhm. Mhm.
So you did again to kind of rewind a little bit. You did mention about your dog. You just got a new puppy, by the way. Congratulations.
Yeah, we're picking him up tomorrow actually.
Oh,
I'm
okay. You
so
don't have one?
excited. No,
Yeah.
no, no. He they all the puppies were getting their shots today, so we couldn't pick them up
Oh.
until tomorrow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so
So,
excited.
so you and I'm very sorry, but you lost your last dog just recently. You said, what was your
Yeah.
dog's name, and how long did you have him?
His name is Drake. I got him in November 2015. He was 9 years old. He was a black lab mixed with Great Pyrenees and Saint Bernard. He was a big dog. Um, but he had developed cancer, and
Oh,
unfortunately, we had to put him down. And
yeah,
it was really hard. But the one thing I kept thinking about is he's no longer in pain, and that's the biggest thing,
yeah,
right? And
yeah.
it's as hard as it is, like he's still living, he's still with us. And my friends, he'll show you. My friends got me a framed picture of him. I don't know if you'll be able to see that with the
It's
background.
no, it's
Oh,
kind of no, it's not
oh
liking it. But I
no,
have a picture up of um, I'm sorry, what was his name again? Drake.
Drake.
So I have a picture up of Drake right now with a Pixel Fed hat on,
Yeah,
and
that's the picture.
yeah. Oh,
Hmm.
is it that one? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's adorable. I love this. And you know,
Hmm.
it's one of those things that it's bittersweet, right? Because he was your best friend and you don't want him to be in pain anymore and like you had such a great time.
Yeah.
I always tell my kids like I'm a believer that, we're never really gone. We leave those marks on the people that we touch, right? So and I always
Yeah.
tell my kids, whenever you're missing us or lonely, we're always in your head and your heart. You just close your eyes and turn inwards and there we are. So
Hmm. Yeah.
he looked like a uh, really good boy. And there's a
Yeah, he
little
was.
puppy picture. I think that's Drake, or is that your new one? My black lab will be 3 this year. Small pupper dogs of Pixel Fed. Oh
Hmm.
yeah, that was
That's
pasted
Drake.
in 2018. Yeah,
Hmm.
and so you're getting a new one to add to your family.
Yeah.
What kind of dog is the new one?
He's a golden lab
Oh,
or a yellow
okay.
lab. A yellow lab. Yep.
Oh, yellow lab. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Good luck with the fur.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the same thing with Drake. Black fur
Oh yeah,
everywhere,
yeah.
everywhere. You had to vacuum multiple times a week.
So what? Again, you've been on the Fediverse for 14 years essentially before anyone even called it the Fediverse. What attracted you to something like that? Why not just go with Twitter? Why not just go with Facebook? That kind of thing.
Well, I believed early on that the utility of the conversations that we can have with these platforms do belong to the people, not a few companies. And I was already interested in decentralization at the time, so it was just a natural progression, I guess, for me to discover um, diaspora, to discover GNU Social.
Yeah.
There was like a whole decentralized social networking like era back then, and that really kickstarted my interest in GNU Social and then later the Fediverse.
Awesome. How did
Hmm.
you get started with coding, programming? Did you go to university? Did you just say this isn't something that I can't figure out, and you just kept banging your head at it until you got it, or?
Kind of, yeah. I'm self-taught. I was an auto body technician, and I just dreamed of writing code and becoming a programmer or web developer.
Dude,
um, Instead of fixing cars. And I was actually fortunate enough to make that a reality. and like I'm living my dream
Wow.
job right now. It's so cool, and that's why I tell people on the Fediverse all the time that I really love I really love how um, programming and software engineering and everything has really given me a whole new passion, and it makes me like look at things differently and approach things differently. And it's something that and something that seems boring to my partner. He's not interested when I talk about it at all.
Yep.
He more
Yep.
cares about housewives and Bravo shows, but I find it really fascinating. I'm a huge nerd, so I love it.
No, I'm the same way. So like once the Fed, what when once he who shall not be named bought Twitter, I was like, okay, I told my wife, you're done with them, and Reddit had its major exodus, right? And I'm like, let me get you all
Hmm.
these different things if you want to do stuff. She's like, okay. And I was like, this matters, this is a big thing. And she's like, I just want to
Yeah.
look at my baking pictures. I was like, I know you do, but please, she humors me at least, right? That's
Hmm.
they try, but yeah, they don't it's different for folks like us that are massively immersed in it. We know what can happen at the low levels with anyone behind it, right? Like
Yeah.
even even when you're on something like Mastodon.social, you are giving trust to whoever's administering that. But at least this
Yeah.
gives you the opportunity to do it yourself, right?
Hmm.
And I think that's immensely powerful. And for folks like yourself to come along and say, you know what, this isn't working out for me. I'm going to just try something and throw it together and be like, holy shit, we got, what'd you say, 6,000 signups before it was even live?
Yeah.
Which that's awesome. Congrats with that.
Hmm. Yeah.
And congrats are definitely in order for your Kickstarter as well.
Oh, thank you.
So that's for folks that don't know. So I'm trying to find my link. Uh, you put on a Kickstarter, which I will say I personally backed as well. Not just trying to get rid of any sponsorship kind of issue things. And I was hoping to have this, to have our meeting before that to hopefully let people know. But I was trumpeting it. So
Hmm.
you raised 136,642 Canadian dollars. Is that tell me about why you started that, and then like walk me through that whole process because that had to be a hell of an emotional roller coaster.
It was. So we actually started planning this last summer, and we were originally supposed to launch the Kickstarter in September, but I got busy like I usually do, and it just happened to work out this way. I've been working with Shlee, um, also known as Ashley. He is one of our team members. He was the one who is helping me coordinate the Kickstarter campaign. And when we started seeing this huge increase in users in early January this year, we decided that it would be perfect timing to release both the Kickstarter and the mobile apps to the app stores. And we worked our butts off to make that happen in mid-January. And it's just like everything culminated in the perfect storm of events because we had not only that, but we also had 404 Media writing that article
Yeah.
about how Facebook was blocking mentions of Pixelfed. So all of those things were
Yeah.
happening at the same time, and it was just a perfect storm. And it got so crazy that I remember struggling to even keep the server up. I had to keep scaling it up, scaling it up, scaling it up, and I was like reaching like almost the second highest scale that you can get on DigitalOcean. And it was crazy to see that Pixelfed could actually keep up with the traffic if enough resources were thrown at it. So that was really interesting. And we did identify a few bugs and hit a few roadblocks during that
Mhm.
crazy period, but we were able to, with the help of our team, really ship a lot of improvements and fixes to the mobile app and to the back end of the platform as well. But for instance, dark mode was one of the most requested features, and we just
Yes.
recently shipped that. And we also shipped a couple of other themes too. So that continuing approach of remaining focused on what really matters, like fixing bugs and shipping the features that people actually want, instead of maybe getting too lost with loops and not having enough strict coordination. Could have really hurt Pixelfed, but I'm glad that my team, helped me realize that we need to focus on Pixelfed and get that to, a stable point before we start worrying about other platforms that we're working on, like loops. So it's been very well, and loops too. At the same time, loops has grown. It's over 28,000 users now.
Nice.
28,276 users that have posted 17,745 videos. So Loops is still growing in the background, and we're gathering enough data to start experimenting with the For You algorithm again. But something like that, it requires a lot of data, and our corpus is growing. It's not tiny, but 17,000 videos is still peanuts compared to TikTok or what's even uploaded to like Facebook.
And that's I was gonna say, what would you say to someone that like is imagine there's someone that doesn't really know. They know you, and they're like, oh, you have a little project, a great aunt or something. It's like, well, you only have 17,000 videos on there. Why should I go there? Why shouldn't I just go to, TikTok or Instagram or something like that? The way that I try to tell people is, you own your content, but even if you don't want to use it, I don't know about you, but I'm still going to be here, right? The Fediverse is a protocol, just like email is a protocol. There are people that don't use email anymore, right? But it's still there. It still exists. So how do you feel about that kind of conversation? Or do you just not try and push it and just say, use what works?
Well, I do remind them the fact that, like, if you're not paying for something, then you're usually like the product. So you're exchanging your data, you're exchanging your privacy, right? And I do, like, and a few of my friends have become big fans of Pixelfed and Loops, and they love what I'm doing, which is awesome. But they still kind of say the same thing. It's the network effect, and once we reach that kind of I don't know, magical number, it just becomes more easier to convince more people to join. And the nice thing about ActivityPub is a member of Pixelfed and a member of Mastodon can conversate and interact with each other as if they're on the same website or network. So that is something that really makes ActivityPub and the Fediverse shine. And it's awesome to be a part of that, because when one of us blows up, we all kind of benefit from that, because all these new users are all part of the same interconnected network. Right. And I think that's the magic of the Fediverse and ActivityPub. And you're gonna see more platforms and stuff continually to be released. Like, there's quite a few new projects, and it's always interesting to see the new ways that people are finding to use ActivityPub.
That's right there. I don't know what it is that you're, hinting at. Maybe you don't know either, but like, that's my thought. That's where I kind of live, is these companies that have these decentralized platforms, they have an interest to create as much revenue as possible. That's it, period. If something is generating $100 million, it's not $1 billion, so it's not worth it. So let's axe it, right? Like, it's always this chase for the next thing. The way I look at it, again, is someone can just pivot and say, you know what, I want to jump into this thing. And they could just have this idea and create something brand new, something that no one has ever seen before. In 5 or 10 years, the Fediverse might not look like anything that we can know today, but anyone can build anything they want on it. That's what gets me really excited about that kind of thing. And I absolutely know what you're talking about the, it's the chicken and egg, right? The content creator's dilemma. I've talked to many people from YouTube or from Twitch, and it's like, why don't you come create content over here? Well, there's no viewers. There's no viewers because you don't create content here. It's like, well, I need viewers in order to create content. It's like frustrates the hell out of me. It's like, just look at it as an insurance then. Like, these are your videos, man. Don't let YouTube own them. Don't let Twitch own them.
Yeah.
I think I'm preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
So what are some of the biggest challenges that you have seen in the Fediverse that you guys have been able to overcome? But what are some of the biggest challenges you see coming up for the Fediverse that could stop it?
Yeah, so one of the challenges I'm sure people are becoming more increasingly aware about, and that's spam and the proliferation of certain spam patterns, and the fact that spam has existed long before the Fediverse has, but we're starting to see more of it and variations of it that require technological solutions as we're approaching the limits of what we have available to deal with this. And I think it's an interesting problem. I did some work on auto spam, which is Pixelfed spam system, and it worked very well at catching spam content by using a very old form of spam filter called Bayesian analysis. And the problem with that I ran into with Pixelfed was, once I had that enabled with Pixelfed Social and we were blowing up, so many false positives were coming in. I had to shut it off because so many people were getting caught in that filter, because it works good with small, a small number of requests, but once you start blowing up and it becomes seeing so much content, that the false positives were really making it less effective.
It's a bad user experience too, especially for someone coming over, right? Like, what's going on? Why is my picture not showing up? I just wanted to show a picture of my kids or something like that, right? And you're again, false positives, but on the reverse side, you have to be careful too, because there's things like CSAM out there, right? Like, how do you guys do you just go with the community flagging stuff and you take it down, or do you have
we are working on a implementation with Project Arachnid, which is a CSAM scanner API service that we can basically generate the PDQ hashes, which is perceptual. It's a.
I don't even know what this is. This is interesting.
So PDQ hashes were created by Facebook, and basically what they allow you to do is generate a perceptual hash of an image that will remain accurate if there are slight differences in the image, which is common when you re-upload something and add a watermark or something like that. So we calculate the PDQ hashes, and then we fire them off to this API, and they will return any matches, and then we can handle that accordingly. And so we have the API access, and we're just working on that now. So that will be available to all Pixelfed servers later this year, and in collaboration with the FASF, the Mastodon federated service provider project that they're working on.
I didn't even know about that.
We want to make it compatible with that as well, so that this could be used for other Fediverse software as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, that comes back to, this really is the world in the Fediverse, is the world of, the water level raises all boats, right? Unlike, again, the big techs, Facebook has to create their own, Twitter has to create their own. They're reinventing the wheel. And you guys are not only sharing the work, but you're also improving it, which is amazing. I remember early on, there was always this idea that, people are afraid of one monolithic entity, application, whatever, on the Fediverse taking over. And I remember that, there's a lot of concern over Eugene. And it was like, guys, he's giving away his code for free. Like it's totally open source. You can run your own. Like I don't. But
Yeah.
there was also this and I don't know, but like there were some folks saying, "Oh, well, Pixelfed's doing their own thing. They're not going to share anything." And again, it's like they kind of, I mean, it's free, it's open, you could share it anyway. Like if that is you sharing literally to the world and saying, "Here's the code, do whatever you want." But it sounds like you guys have a much closer knit communication than that. Do you guys do you work with Eugene or someone from Mastodon? Do you work with Funk Whale or other projects? Like, how do you guys handle that?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. I have been I participate in a few different um, like developer chats with not just Mastodon but other projects as well. And I have collaborated with um, a few projects before. I've talked to or I mentioned approached Funk Whale, and I would like to work with
Oh,
them and a couple of other audio focused Fediverse projects for loops for the sound library that we're going to be implementing, which is kind of like the TikTok sound library where you can pick sounds. I think it would be really cool if you could use libraries from other software to help seed the audio and music in loops. And the benefit of that it would benefit artists who might not have a lot of exposure to get their exposure through loops, and that way we're not violating any um, copyright laws
so
around the audio licensing of other tracks.
so wait a second. So what you're talking about, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like if this goes to plan, you can upload a video to Loops and be like, I want to add a soundtrack to it, and a style or something, and that can connect to a Funkwell instance that says these are all the songs, and then you can overlay that.
Yeah,
Holy shit,
yeah,
dude, that's awesome.
yeah. Yeah. So and Elna is actually funding this. We got a grant for them from them last year, and Elna is funding Loop's development. And this is actually one of the milestones is the sound library integration with Funkwell. And there's a couple of other projects that we've approached too to partner up with to provide various forms of content that we can use in loops and reshare, and then give them the attribution and everything. So it'll
Yeah.
be it'll be it'll be fair, obviously.
Yes. No, that's amazing. I
Hmm.
love that. And again, that comes down to like you were saying, my whole idea of the Fediverse that we can do that the other guys can is we could share. That's it.
Yeah,
Like it's as simple as that. We share
yeah,
everything, right? And like
yeah.
I love that. That is so good.
Hmm.
But so you mentioned loops. So let's
Yeah.
jump on loops real quick. How did you come up with the idea of loops? Where do you see it going? And then I have a bit
Hmm.
of a, I guess it's not really, I guess it could be like a critical question, but it's nothing too serious. But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. So originally, Loops, like I mentioned before, it started as a feature in Pixelfed in 2019 that was supposed to be like Vine, like the app that Twitter acquired and then later shut down. So what we did was we had this special feed on Pixelfed where it would show just videos, and it
Mm-hmm.
was just in a simple grid, but it was nothing like a full page scrolling feed like TikTok. And then around like the around
Okay.
2020 when I discovered TikTok, I thought, this would be something cool to implement in Pixelfed as a way to browse videos without them polluting the main feeds.
Mm-hmm.
And so eventually, last year, I decided to just spin it off into a separate project because to me, I didn't want to make Pixelfed like Instagram. I didn't want to add reels and too much video because it's a photo sharing app at
Yeah.
heart, right? And people don't like that. And as much as I got addicted to reels, I had to uninstall Instagram. I love I love the fact that loops can also we're also working on an integration with Pixelfed so you can upload all your Pixelfed videos to loops easily and cross post them. But we we wanted a separate experience for video because it is a different experience when you're browsing a bunch of videos
Yeah.
compared to, your Pixelfed feed. So,
Okay.
and I know it's also been a little bit controversial because people want to see better video support in Pixelfed, which we do want to improve, but we also do see the need for loops to be separate.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree with that. It's, you can, and because it's on the Fediverse, right? You can have a Pixelfed
Mhm.
account and you can follow a loops video, right? I would assume,
Yeah.
right? But this gets into one of those tenets, in my opinion, where we've all heard about people that constantly use Facebook or Discord. Discord did this recently where they changed the UI and everyone hates it because they can't find anything. And they're
Yeah.
like, well, we had to do it because we had added new features, right? We need this feature or that feature. In reality, it's privacy issues, in my opinion. But I think that is a great idea because you keep them focused. Like, as you said, video content might not display as well with picture content. Like, they are very different. And being able to again, as you said, integrate both of those is excellent. And Fediverse, so you could be on Mastodon and do it. You can be I run GoTo Social and get all of that. That's
There's
awesome.
also there's also a bigger aspect of that, and that is algorithms. So for Pixelfed, we're famously algorithm free. We're
Mm-hmm.
chronological, whereas with loops, we actually do want to implement an algorithm. So
Okay.
I kind of felt the need to separate it in that respect as well because we didn't want to add an algorithm to Pixelfed just for videos because that could potentially get people interested in, well, why don't we have an algorithm for the main feed? And that could be a slippery slope, right?
Yeah.
At least this way, we're keeping the algorithm completely separate on loops and not and not integrating any algorithms into Pixelfed.
And I mean, that's Lemmy has a bit of an algorithm, right? Like, if you, I don't know
Yeah,
if you've used Lemmy, they have uh, hot, active, controversial, new. Can you use once you do this? Can you use loops without an algorithm? Can you still do chronological rank?
oh yeah, yeah. We're still going to
Okay.
keep the chronological feed and also the following feed, which is the accounts that you follow in reverse chronological order.
Okay.
So we have the following, and then we call it the for you feed, but it's really just a chronological feed because the for you feed isn't active on loops yet. We're still working, tweaking the algorithm. It needs a little bit more data that we need to report from the app itself,
Okay.
just so that we can know more signals. Like for instance, if you're watching a loops video and you open the comments, that is a good signal to indicate that something about the video interests you. Or if you open the comments and then like a comment or reply to a comment or share it to somebody.
So I know that you have the phone apps for iOS. Is that in the Apple Store?
It's on test flight. I have not released it into the App Store yet.
And then the Android, because I'm on the page right now and I'm showing it. So you can download the APK. I'm assuming it
Yeah.
hasn't gotten into the Google Play Store. Have you thought about like F-Droid or anything like that, or that's still
Yeah.
to be determined and to come?
Well, we do want to
Later
support
release.
F-Droid and get a full de-Googled reproducible build in the F-Droid official repositories. Once the code is fully open source, we want to do that with Pixelfed too. And I actually almost finished the build system for that. It's a little bit complicated because you basically have to strip out certain aspects of the app. So, but to make this easy to be able to build either or in our pipeline is something that we're working on.
So might I say, and I say this with all due respect, you have an amazing skill for understating things. Like,
Oh, do I?
you talk about it's
Oh,
it's a little bit complicated to get it on F-Droid. It's like, from what I've seen, and again, I'm just an IT guy. I'm not a programmer. From what I've seen, it is a little bit more than a little complicated. Like they have a lot of processes and things like that, and this
rules.
Yeah. Like they're actually they. I wouldn't be surprised if they do more due diligence than Google does on their app store, right? Like Google's probably all automated testing and everything, but like F-Droid, I've heard from a lot of people, like it takes a significant amount of time to get through the entire process. Even though it's an open source store, they don't just let anyone throw anything up on there.
Yeah. So we got our build rejected because the video player library that I'm using has the ability to support ads, and there was a link to Google SDK, and it was rejected. Even though we don't implement ads, you have to basically disable that API in the Android configuration when you're. So it's complicated, I guess.
Yeah. So Loops is, I don't think it is yet, but all of the code is going to be released open source. You're going to be able to roll your own server. I know that has been a bit of a controversial point that people are like, oh, it's never going to happen. He's never going to release it. And you've literally told people, guys, I've released all of Pixelfed. I've released the code for all these other things. I don't get paid. Your NLNet grant, you literally don't get it unless you free the code, right? So what do you have to say to people that say that to you? And also, do you have any idea when that might be coming?
Yep. So the reason why I am delaying the source code is because of what happened with Pixelfed in the early days. We were moving so fast that it was hard to keep compatibility, and it's more evident now that we have loops with apps that have client constraints in the version because of how fast we're changing APIs and stuff. If I was to release loops now, there's no guarantee that it's going to work with the app in 6 months, because that's how fast we're changing with the APIs and still finalizing things.
Yes.
But that being said, the back end and the back end is where most of the missing code is, and that's because I had to tweak a few things. Like I've been working on the for you algorithm, and I just need to clean up a little bit of code in the backend that's ready to publish. And then for the mobile app, nearly all of the code is open source, and I just did a big commit last week. So, but we do have a couple of issues on Android with the full screen and the video player. So I will need probably some help from like an experienced React Native Android developer, because Android is tricky. Because compared to iOS, it's tricky to get everything right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm not a software developer. Like the little bit of reading code that I've done is very low level C. Like the web stuff, I've dipped into a little bit of web stuff. Like I can't stand CSS. When I look at a mobile phone app and like someone's like, oh, it's super easy to build, it's like, I don't care. I don't want to. Like, I'm an old man at this point. Give me back my TI, TRS 80 or whatever. It's like, so I honestly don't know. So I'm not trying to like come off as like, oh, that's really interesting, I could do it. No, I have no clue. So if there's anyone that's watching or listening, live or after, if you can help, I'm sure Daniel would be more than happy to get people's take or experience in how to get these things cleaned up, right? Would you turn away help? I'm assuming not.
And we do have a growing team of app developers, and some of them do want to move towards loops now that Pixelfed is maturing. So that's exciting.
So one of the things that again, it was kind of controversial that I wanted to talk about was you had mentioned before, and again, if you're not comfortable saying, talking about it, that's totally fine. Just, we can go on to something else. But you have been very publicly open about folks coming to you wanting VC funding, coming to you and being like, hey, we want to fund you, or we want to buy this. And you've turned it down, and you're very open about that. And then people are like, oh, well, he's just bragging. And it's like, no, I don't see it as that. I see it as you are trying to be transparent. You are attempting to ease people's minds that, hey, this is not for sale. We are not for sale. The Fediverse is not for sale. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I don't see why that would be something to necessarily brag about. The reason why I did say it is because I didn't want people to worry, because I know a couple of people have brought it up too. They're like, well, Pixelfed's blowing up and stuff. Like, have you thought about selling? And the simple answer is no. Like, Pixelfed is not for sale. It's open source. And if it ever is in a position to be sold, then obviously I'm doing something wrong, right? And that's actually one of the reasons why, like, I feel really good about the new flagship that we're launching in partnership with fediversity.eu, which is NLNet funded as well. They will be hosting pixelfed.com. So I'm basically working in collaboration with them to host our new flagship, which is going to be pixelfed.com.
That's awesome. I've never heard of fediversity.eu. What is this? Interesting.
So basically
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, they provide funding and resources to open source projects and Fediverse projects.
Awesome. That's
open
great.
Source Fediverse projects, yeah.
And it seems like, again, NLNet, I believe, is based out of EU somewhere. I think someone said.
Yeah, Amsterdam.
Okay. So it definitely seems like the European Union as a whole is very friendly to open source technology. And I don't know, with the recent events here, because I'm in the US, I wonder if that's gotten them seriously looking even more at, hey, we need alternative methods like the Fediverse. Like, no one can control it, right? And I think that's amazing. Mm-hmm. I'm actually very excited about that. Cool. I'll look at that later. Sorry, I'm distracted.
Yeah, no worries. And it's cool. Canada is a part of the Horizon program, which is why I'm able to participate in NLNet grants.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Congrats for this. So I have to ask. Oh, well, before I ask that, someone in the chat said, I wish loops would stop people from uploading multiple videos, stagger them out. It sucks having to scroll past the same face 8 times in a row. I honestly haven't used loops. So
we do have a limit of 8 videos, I believe, per 6 hours. But yeah, the problem with that is just due to the inherent reverse chronological nature. I mean, we could stagger them out. That's not necessarily a hard thing to do, but it will get a lot better with the For You algorithm once that goes live.
There you go. So hopefully that answered your question, Unruffled Lamar, which is a generated name, I would assume. So again, and I mean this with all due respect, how long ago did you switch over from body car body mechanic? Because you're in it, man. Like, if I would talk to you first, be like, oh, he probably went to university for computer science, and like he did all this stuff. He's been playing with code since he was a kid. And like, that is the most surprising thing. So
2019 was the last year that I did that.
How long have you been coding then?
Like in my hobby, or my spare time, I guess. It's been a few years, but Pixelfed was my first real like open source project. I had like a Bulma CSS templates project that I started years ago, but this is the first real open source project that I started, and it's been challenging at times. It's not easy to try and do everything yourself. And I advise anybody thinking that they can do everything themselves, get yourself a team as soon as you can, because it's not worth it.
Programming is difficult, right? Like,
Yeah.
But not only that, like you are the face of Pixelfed, right? Like you dog food the Fediverse. You use the technologies that you create and that you want to foster, and
Yeah.
that has made you a very, I don't want to say celebrity on the Fediverse because I don't think that that's really like there's no influencers in my opinion yet on the Fediverse,
Yeah.
but
No.
you are a big personality on the Fediverse. How do you handle that? Like, do you get a lot of toxicity? Because I know myself, like, again, I was telling you earlier, I never wanted to do this because, I respect my privacy and I never wanted all the toxicity. I'm actually very happy with the positive attitudes I've gotten from everyone and actually the constructive criticism. But you're using these systems a lot more. You're very active on them. So do you get a lot of pushback or is there a lot of welcome? How do you handle that?
It's been very positive throughout the whole thing. There, I know there's been times where I haven't acted the way that I should be acting as a project maintainer, and I publicly apologized for that a few times, and it's something that you got to learn as you go because there's no rule book for open source or anything like that. It's really you just
Yeah.
have to you just have to strive to continually improve and just to be a good leader and be respectful and try to listen to everybody. Like I don't when people are giving criticism about Pixelfed,
Mm-hmm.
I don't take that personally. I'll reach out to them and I'll ask them, like, well, how could we fix this for you? And like 9 times out of 10, that really surprises them, and we are able to solve the problem. And all of a sudden, it's like a switch was flipped, and I love that. Like that's how that your community really is engaged
Right.
because they
Yeah.
they feel comfortable giving you feedback, and it feels amazing to ship that feedback and to make them happy. It's like a
Well,
feedback loop.
I think you nailed it exactly too. This really is a community. Again, you're a person that cares about how can you make things better and whatnot. And none of us, I mean, those of us that are old enough or remember the early days of the internet, there was that massive sense of community. We don't really have
Yeah.
that anymore. Like even on
Mhm.
Twitter, people don't. They're not a community on Twitter. They are
Yeah.
announcing this or they're rebutting that, right?
Mhm.
So I love that. I love to hear that. And one of the messages you actually, I'm going to read this out if that's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
you posted it publicly, so I'm assuming it's okay.
No, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, yeah. And I really love this because I think that it's not just you. We are all human. We all make mistakes. We all have emotions. We need to try to do better. And you say, I try to be a better developer and project leader. We all make mistakes, but what's important is how you learn from them. The past year taught me humility, patience, and the value of ownership. I'm grateful for second chances, both in code and relationships. Building with purpose is worth the struggle. And I like that's not even like that is obviously something happened there where you felt that you had to have this discussion, but I think that is important for everyone in their daily life. I've constantly told my kids, right, like you just try to incrementally get better. Doesn't matter what it is, pick something,
Yeah.
and you constantly move forward and you're constantly working at it. And I really enjoyed that kind of ownership. There are people in open source projects that are like, shit, this is mine. Get the fuck out if you don't like me, right? And I mean, hell, Linus Torvalds. Uh-oh, I just lost my internet. Are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay. OBS went up. Oh, now it came back. All right, I think we're okay.
Okay.
So, I mean, as long as you're still here, I'll just keep going on without the
Yeah.
live stream. But I completely lost my train of thought. But so, and you've done this a couple of times where you say, "Hey, I'm planning on doing better," right? Like that. takes a lot. Like that doesn't happen again with the big tech companies unless there's some kind of big issue that happens. Yeah, some big controversy. Thank you. So, what like, and you don't have to go into details, but like, what drives you to want to take ownership of something like that?
Well, I think it was leading up to January, the month or 2 months before then. I found myself increasingly stressed and increasingly, um, you know, saying things that just I didn't need to say, or do things that I didn't need to do, in terms of being too vocal on Mastodon about various things. And I just realized that I was spending so much time on Mastodon and getting into trouble because I would try and stand up for myself and stick up for myself, even though I didn't need to be, but I realized that instead of spending all this time on Mastodon, you should be coding, right? And limit the amount of marketing times that I set aside for Pixelfed, because that is one of my problems. Is I like to spend a little too much time talking about Pixelfed and the features that I'm working on, and not necessarily work on the features until you know. But no, it's something that also really made me reflect. Was losing my dog in February really opened my eyes about a lot of things, and it kind of grounded me again, in the way that I realized that the way that I was acting at some points were not conducive to a successful open source project, and I needed to check myself, right? And one of the biggest ways that I find that I can do that is just by being honest and just telling it how it is.
Yeah. No, and I think a lot of a lot of folks are, especially in open source, folks are hesitant to contribute, right? Because they don't know how things are going to be interpreted. Like, oh, again, this is their project, I shouldn't touch it. But being open and welcoming definitely seems to put more people at ease. So I totally understand that.
Yeah.
Moving on to FediDB, which I have a bad habit of constantly checking. When did you create FediDB? How did you create FediDB? Are the statistics right? Because I'm freaking out with the red, man.
Okay, so FediDB, I started this in 2019 as a developer toolkit for ActivityPub, and basically it was a way to help you build ActivityPub apps and test them. And I implemented a crawler and started collecting stats, just so that on the homepage I could list how many servers there were. And I never did finish the developer tools enough for the rest of the develop, because there was only a couple of people that I let into it because it was so beta at the time. But they liked the stats, and then I basically turned FediDB into a network statistics site, and then spun out the developer tools into pubkits. And the way that FediDB works is we crawl servers multiple times a day, collect the aggregate stats, and then basically map reduce them. We do some database queries that we cache, but a lot of the issues that seems to be happening with FediDB count numbers are from instances that report inaccurate counts.
Okay.
So we've seen this with a software that implemented random stats because they were upset with being crawled. And you know what? I understand that that's it's their software; they can do whatever they want. And so I had to implement robots.txt to check, make sure that we weren't violating anybody's preferences.
Sure.
So once I implemented that, and then had to recheck that permission, it introduced a couple of bugs that I haven't fixed yet. So that's why the stats have seemed a little wonky since February. because there's a lot of servers that have dropped off and have deflated the total count. The total count isn't that low. It's just that
Right.
the improvements that I made to check robots.txt had a side effect of kind of working a little too good and not rechecking when they should have. So it's led to a lot, and people keep on messaging me and contacting me. They're like, "Hey, my server's not on FediDB anymore. What happened?" And yeah, so I need to take a good weekend here coming up and just work through those bugs, and then work on open sourcing the new version of FediDB that I teased earlier this year.
Well, and my whole thought that I've told myself, like, there's natural fluctuations in the Fediverse. Like something
Oh
happens
yeah,
on one of the big guys. There's a mass
yeah,
a mass incoming group, and then not everyone's going to stick around, right? It's not for them.
mm-hmm.
That's fine. We're still going to be here, like I said. But the thing, a lot of these kinds of things, and I see, because I've been around Linux for 17 years now, a lot of what I see in Fediverse are the same things that Linux has always had. Like, well, we can never really report true stats because it's everywhere, and there could be a server. Literally, there could be a server in the EU that handles all the government stuff that's only theirs and closed off. But yet, that's still
Yeah,
getting exposure, and people are still using it. And I think that a lot of folks don't realize how good the tech industry does at getting exposure. Microsoft, Apple, Google, giving laptops and stuff to schools, or
yeah,
teaching kids on Office, right? Like those kinds of steps are major. So this is just a low estimate at best, right? Like this is a
yeah.
conservative estimate.
Yeah, and there are servers that do block FediDB from even being able to crawl them, and that's why our accounts sometimes vary through other stat reporting software. And the thing about that is, there's nothing I can do about that. You know, people have said, "Well,
Yeah,
you could get another VPS and then just crawl from that," and it's just like then you're trying to bypass the preferences of the
yeah,
server owner, and and like what like there'd be no valid purpose to do that, right?
yeah.
So
And that's as you're saying, you're destroying community. Then that's we need to be
yeah,
respectful
yeah.
of everyone.
hmm And so like the Fediverse observer developer, he had reached like I had reached out to him to warn him about what that project was doing with the inflated stats. And I said that I was going to be implementing robots.txt support to bypass that so that wouldn't be an issue. And he felt that he didn't need to do that, but he was still going to block them anyways. And it's tricky because with these things, you do in some ways have to make somewhat political decisions sometimes, and you can't always make everybody happy. But what I tried to do with FediDBN in this situation was do the thing that I felt was the most responsible, and that is to
Yeah,
respect people's desire not to be crawled, right? And then to implement the robots.txt support, which we did. But the side effect is it crashed the total count because there was a couple of conditions that weren't handled properly, which I will get fixed.
yeah. No, please take your time. It's just, again, one of those early tools that I found on the Fediverse. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. You could see it. Another one, Fediverse.info, I think was one of. When did you make this? Because I think this is one of the first websites I ever saw that
That
actually.
was early. That was in 2019.
Okay, yeah, this is one of the first. But I'm like, I could give this to people to help them understand what this thing is, and
Mhm.
it's essentially a basic. I'm assuming it's mostly a static site, save for like the video and whatnot. But it is a
Well,
great primer.
the directory um, is actually an app. So there's over 5,000 accounts, and that's why you'll sometimes see Fedi 22 in the hashtag Fedi 22 in people's bios, is
Oh
because that's how you
yeah,
can add yourself to the directory.
that's right. I did that. I think my stuff is out there too. I completely forgot about that. There's the directory.
Yeah, that's one thing that I need to really advertise because not a lot of people know about it, and it'd be very useful for like the Pixelfed app and stuff too, right?
That's awesome. Jeez. You have so many projects.
Yeah, too many.
Let's talk about the next one. What? So I haven't heard too much about SUP. So you had originally talked about, for folks that don't know, SUP was, before I get into SUP, if you directly message anyone on the Fediverse inside of Mastodon or whatnot, that is not end-to-end encrypted. They are not private.
No.
They are private in the sense that not everyone can see it, but the sysadmin, whoever's controlling your server, can. It's the same thing as Twitter. It's the same thing as Facebook, right? But Daniel had this idea of creating an end-to-end, I believe end-to-end encrypted, open source, federated instant messenger app, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how did you, I mean, again, I think it's kind of obvious where it came from, but how did you get started on it? Where's SUP at? Like, what do you have plans for it, etc.?
Yeah. So I did come up with the idea after thinking, like looking at Messenger and how much my partner used Messenger.
Yeah.
He has a Facebook account, but it's all about Messenger. And I thought, it would be really cool if we had an open source, like kind of like a universal messenger that was also end-to-end encrypted. So
Mm-hmm.
this will support not only Mastodon and Pixelfed and other Fediverse projects. Like you'll be able to log in with your Mastodon account or your Pixelfed account, but you'll also be able to. We're also looking into adding support for other platforms, potentially Matrix and Signal. And we're actually evaluating the double ratchet protocol for the end-to-end encrypted messaging. That's a whole other thing. But 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 it's really fascinating how a lot of the industry leading tech is open source, and it is compatible in a federated or decentralized way. So we could leverage Signal's user base or Matrix to be able to
Where?
communicate within
Sorry, go ahead.
to be able to communicate within SUP without leaving the app. So you could have, and that was the goal, was to make like a universal messenger where you could chat with everybody. And I know that's something that's kind of like a beeper, which was acquired by WordPress. They're doing something like that, but I don't believe their app is open source. So it's something that I think could fill a need on the Fediverse, not necessarily the end-to-end encrypted part so much, but the ability to direct message people more easily, and with a dedicated app for that.
Well,
So
and it'll be Fediverse. Sorry, it'll be federated, right?
yeah, exactly.
So then, could I just have SUP and pull in a loops, like get a loops feed or a Pixelfed feed or a Mastodon feed, and
Yeah.
do direct messaging? Daniel, you don't do anything small, do you?
um, I guess not.
Holy shit, man. So where does it stand today? Because when I heard about this, I was very excited about it. But no offense, I'm actually not on Mastodon much. I check it every once in a while and I go through it. So if there was news, I've missed it. Have you guys had any news about it? Like, are you still working on it? Is it in the early
Yeah,
design phase?
it's still in the early design
Okay.
and alpha phase. I wanted to focus more on getting Pixelfed and Loops out and then SUP, because I found trying to try and build all three at the same time is very slow, right? Because there's so much work to do between all three of them, and I can only do so much. And the great thing that we the great thing about our team is we're now able to do so much more, and like I said, we're hoping to get loops, like the backend and source code and everything, out as soon as possible, like this month, so that we can
wow.
look into revisiting SUP and getting it into people's hands sooner rather than later. But I can't give any dates for SUP yet, so
Wow. That's awesome though. Like, yeah. And I imagine, I mean, again, you have a skill for understatement working on three separate code bases at the same time. Like, I wouldn't say it's just slow. I would say that would be, a lot of people don't understand how complex one code base can be, right? And you're juggling three. Yeah. So that's a
it's
lot,
act,
man.
it's actually six because there's server and then there's the app
Oh
mode.
yeah. That's, yeah. And then,
But yeah,
go ahead.
but
Sorry.
I can reuse, like, there's a lot of code that I borrowed from Pixelfed in loops on both the server and the app. And so I can reuse
Okay.
some of the complexity or code involving like ActivityPub Federation and some things, but they are quite different. They are quite different apps. So but we are using the same languages for the backends for all three of them, which is Laravel and PHP, and then we're using React Native for the app.
Using PHP.
Yeah.
So I had never heard of Laravel until I got to the Fediverse. I mean, I've heard
Oh,
of
okay.
PHP. I used PHP once, and I swore I would never use PHP again.
Modern PHP is really nice. It's
Oh, is it? Okay.
mm,
Yeah, when I used it, it was 15, 20 years ago. So, God, am
oh
I
yeah.
old? Oh, God, that hurts. Okay. But keeping the code bases in similar languages helps immensely, I'm sure. Like if you
Oh yeah.
decided to all of a sudden switch course, like now you're trying to speak French when in reality you should be speaking German, right?
Mm.
But you also talked about building a cloud CDN platform for the Fediverse.
Yeah, this is something that me and Shlee are working on right now. Leveraging our collective expertise and the need for something like this, because right now we're wasting so much storage by basically replicating the same
Yes.
image across
Yep.
many servers, and all you really need is um, a trusted authority to cache those files so that people can consume the cached version, and they'll still have access to the origin if they need to, but being able to leverage that instead of having to store and transcode that, I think will help a lot, especially um, Pixelfed and Mastodon, where they're more media heavy than maybe other Fediverse software.
So I would assume okay, so what you're talking about, say I run a Pixelfed server and right now I have someone that follows your Pixelfed account. When you post an image, it comes over to mine. So we've duplicated the image, right? Taking up double the space. But we're not talking about two. We're talking thousands of times
Yeah,
essentially, right? So you're talking
yeah.
about having a CDN that's over top of all of it. Do you think that there are any trust issues around that? Would you be able to just turn it off if you're running your own? I'm assuming the answer is yes, but
Yeah, yeah, and that's something that we're thinking about as well. Like, the software and all the infrastructure for this is going to be open source, so we're not going to be the only provider. There's also a similar service that exists like this already called Jortage, and and um,
shortage.
Jortage, so Gortage.
Never heard of that one either. Sorry, please go on.
Um, and then yeah, we're looking into getting hardware and like in a data center to be able to host this more efficiently than using existing providers. Because right now, when I scaled Pixelfed up to deal with all the additional load, our server bills were going crazy. They quadrupled in 1 month.
Whew.
Like, yeah.
Now, do
So
you? obviously you have the Kickstarter, which did incredibly well, but that's come just recently. How
Yeah.
did you maintain that? Was it all through donations or?
Yeah, it's well, Patreon does cover a good chunk of our hosting, but I was paying out of pocket for the longest time, and then just like around last year, the amount we were getting in Patreon started covering the full amount of the monthly hosting bill. But then we have domains and also the mail
Yeah.
delivery service. We spent $900 on that in January alone. So it's expensive when you're dealing with
Just on
that many
email.
users. Yeah.
Oh,
It's not cheap to send like a million emails in a month. It's actually kind of crazy.
that reminds me of like I don't know how old you are, but like in the 90s when I had my first cell phone, like I think 18, it was like late 90s, and it's like, okay, don't use more than 100 text messages because it'll cost you
Yeah.
$5 more. And it's like, but it's little packets of data flying through the sky. Like, what? And
Yeah.
that's, geez, $900. Wow. Just
Yeah.
for
Where
email.
they would measure overages in megabytes, not gigabytes.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, is that the best you could get? Like, if there's no one else you could get to handle it? Oh my god. Ouch. Turn off email. What are people getting emails for?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Holy cow. Let's see. Next you have PubKit, which I believe you were working. PubKit is kind of a multi-person project, right? Like, was it Johannes? I'm not
Oh,
sure.
yeah, there was a couple of us that were going to work together on a testing framework for ActivityPub that was going to be funded through, I don't know. Yeah. That's a little bit different. PubKit is basically the tools that I built for FediDB, but modernized and with a better design, and it's so unfortunate that I never got the time to properly finish and release PubKit because there was a lot of interest in it, and now it seems like there's a few other developer tools that solve a lot of the problems that PubKit aimed to solve, which is browser.pub, and then also um,
Fedify?
Fedify. Yeah, exactly. Hmm.
Okay. Okay. So
I'm
that
actually
was
one of yeah.
no. Go ahead, please.
I'm actually one of their sponsors. I sponsor them on Open Collective. It's a really cool project. He's done some amazing work.
I
And
actually, yeah, I had actually looked at the Fedify stuff. Again, I'm not a software developer. I was like, hey, maybe I'll make a website that does stuff. It's like, let me look. And as I'm doing these things, I'm like, it doesn't. My brain doesn't work like this. I can't handle this. Do you have any other projects that I didn't mention? It seems like you have a new project in your back pocket every day.
uh, no, no, that's it. I have a couple of smaller static websites like um, respectful platforms, and um, I think it was ActivityPub. I can't remember the other one. I do Fediverse on the work. Oh no, it
I
wasn't
just want to make
mine.
sure I hit all of them. There's only been one or two projects that you have. I think we're on 12.
Yeah, no, that's all of them.
5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, only 8. So should probably do something. Sorry. Well, so can we talk a minute about NLNet? So I had never heard again of NLNet until I got to the Fediverse, and the best I know, again as you said earlier, they're out of Amsterdam and they give grants for open source projects. And I don't know if you're getting it for Pixelfed, but you have a grant for loops, right?
Loops is our fourth grant from NLnet.
Oh wow. Okay.
Um, Pixelfed was the first. What Pixelfed was the first Fediverse project that got a grant from NLnet in 2019, and our second NLnet grant was in 2020, and then our third one was in 2022.
Wow. That is
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Now, is it a cumbersome process to just be like, hey, I'm building this thing, here's the repo?
No. It's quite. Um, it takes a lot of time. So from the time that you send in the application to the time that they give you word is months, or it could even be a year. And then once you sit down and define your milestones and everything, then you sign a memorandum of understanding. And then you do
Wow.
work on a milestone. And then once you're done that milestone work, then you submit that, and then they process the payment. So it depends on how busy they are, and they've been increasingly more busy as time gone on. They get a lot of applications. So I applied for Loops grant in like February or March, and I didn't hear back from them until like October or November. So it was quite a long time. They
Do
had
you
quite
have
a
to have
few.
do you just have an idea that you like, hey, I want to build this thing, or do you actually have to show working code?
No, you do. You have to explain. You have to explain to them what you're doing, and then they have to, and they do it in three phases. So the first, if you make the first round, they'll let you know, and then if you make the second round, um, that has more people involved, including people from the European Union, I believe. And then the third round is they do a phone call, a video call with you, and ensure everybody's on the right page. If they have ideas or feedback for your milestones, they'll give you feedback and let you know what they would like to see. And they also put you in touch with their network. So we've gotten a security audit from NLNet,
Oh,
and
nice.
yeah, and they're also connecting it with other organizations, which is really cool. So they not only help with
That's
funding, but they also help with networking, which is really cool. And they've also they're the ones that introduced me to Fediversity, and um, and also collaborations with other ActivityPub projects.
no, and that's
So
I mean that's perfect. That's the kind of thing that most people don't even realize exists,
mhm,
right? That you can
yeah,
get
yeah,
a grant to help build this kind of code, but it's not just the money. It's all the experience that they've had doing this, all the connections that they've made, as you said, like a security audit. Like, I don't even know if you were thinking of one, but they'd be like, hey, have you thought about a security audit? Which is important, right?
yeah,
Especially in today's day and age of everything getting leaked and hacked and whatnot.
yeah.
One of the other things that I absolutely loved that I am compelled to talk about is on your, and I'm pretty sure it's on all of your projects, but I saw it on the Loops. Does Loops.video own the rights to my content? Daniel, does the Loops.video own the rights to my content?
No.
No. My God, that's amazing. Are you sure?
Yeah, you grant us a temporary license to be able to distribute it, but you
Wow.
remain the owner of your content. And why would I want the rights to your content? We just need the basic the legal protections to be able to distribute it through the service. But the original terms of service that we had on Loops was problematic because I used a commercial terms of service generator that wasn't meant for a platform like this, and people were upset, rightfully so. So what I did was I replaced the terms of service with the terms from Pixelfed, and I should have
Mm-hmm.
just done that originally, right? But it's a way more simpler terms of service and more easy to understand. And like I said, I'm not a lawyer, but we haven't had any issues with the pixel fed terms of service. But as we're growing and stuff, it is about time that we do consult some legal experts on what is the best path forward for something that would protect our platform.
Yeah.
And we also have to think too, it's the laws are different in each country, right?
Yes.
So it depends on where you host it, not just where you are.
Well, and in some countries, it's what goes over the wire. I mean, yeah, it's yeah, you get into or other countries. Actually, I was surprised to find out that Canada is, and maybe it's changed. This was like 10 years ago. One of the guys that I knew, he's like, he lives in Canada, and he's like, yeah, I take textbooks and I copy them and I put them up on Internet Archive. And I was like, is that legal? And he's like, it is in Canada. I was like, oh, okay, awesome. Like apparently
really?
the Digital Copyright Act that we have in America, the draconian thing, does not, obviously does not apply in Canada, but folks in Canada were much more lenient with things like that. Again, that was like 10 years ago, so I don't know if things have shifted, but that's definitely something to be mindful of. But I asked this, I asked that question in a tongue-in-cheek way, but that is generally unheard of in social networks. Like, you have no rights to anything. As soon as you put your picture of your cat, they own it. They can do whatever they want with it, right? And it is ridiculous that we've come to the point where we just accept it, that I have to jokingly say, you don't own my content? Oh my God, how ingenious.
Yeah.
And I hope that this kind of thing takes off more, because it is ours. And the whole idea that people have talked about in the past is like, oh well, they should pay you for it. It's like, yeah, Google's going to give me $10 for all the massive privacy violations they're doing. Like,
yeah,
it's not going to happen.
No. It's also scary to think about how this is our privacy and stuff is being invaded and sold and transmitted, even more so with AI, and how like Meta is creating those AI pictures and stuff of people. I think that's crazy. That's something that you wouldn't even thought of 10 years ago, that we would be dealing with in 10 years of seeing AI generated photos that you didn't even create, that are being created by them.
And where's it going to be in another 10 years?
Yeah.
There are some pictures I've seen that I can't tell the difference. And someone's like, oh, well, look at this person's hand all the way in the background. They have 6 fingers. It's like, I understand they have 6 fingers, but there are 6-fingered people.
Yeah.
And it's just getting crazier. I've told my kids, like, just, do we believe anything on the internet? No, that's right. Nothing. None of it.
Yeah.
So coming towards the end here, a couple more questions. What is success? What is your idea of success? What does success look like for Daniel Supernault, or for Pixelfed or Loops or what have you?
I would say either reaching a million users is going to be a huge milestone. But success for me would be being able to get my mom to be able to install Pixelfed and upload a picture. That would be success. If I can make it as easy for her to understand, I think we'll have everything cut and dry and easy, because she is very technologically challenged, and an app like this really needs to be easy to use. So
Yeah.
my idea of success is us getting the app to a point where it's just really easy to get started with and fun to use.
But I love that it's your mom. Like, you have a great test case, but like, is she a big cheerleader for you? Like, is she excited about us?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then what can people do to help? I mean, you have, I have a couple of links to your donation links: Patreon, LibrePay, Open Collective. Is that the best way they can help? Contributing code, doing documentation?
Yeah,
What do you
we
need?
also have a need for translations, and we're going to
Oh,
be setting up a new translations for the Pixelfed app, which is going to be separate. So we have translate.pixelfed.org, where you can translate our backend and web UI, and then translate.pixelfed.app if you want to help translate the app.
awesome.
And then we use Crowdin, which is a pretty easy translations platform.
Okay.
So contributors that are familiar with that, they've said that it's like their favorite
Oh, good.
translation platform. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, and that's smart. You need to go where the people are. You need to go with what they're. If you need, so I speak 2 languages, English and bad English. So if you need anyone that does either of those, let me know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. No, I believe we really need to get these translations up and included in our app, because we're starting to see a lot of growth from non-English speaking countries, which is really
Yeah.
cool. Like we have a vibrant and growing like Italian user base and also South American user base,
Oh
and
wow.
they're both of them have contributed translations not just to the core of Pixelfed, but they've done a lot of work to improve missing translations throughout the app too. So I think that's really cool.
That is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, best of luck with it. So now for the real reason I asked Daniel here is to give him an opportunity to win the prize of a lifetime. Our prize today is 9,001 pictures of a perfectly dark room. We thought about buying you TikTok of America, but let's be honest, you have a better one at home anyway. So, are you ready for the quiz, Daniel?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Favorite movie and why is it Spaceballs?
Because it's iconic.
Is it Spaceballs?
No.
Is that your favorite? Damn it.
No. That is an iconic movie, though.
That is my favorite movie, and my last guest was the first one that said that it was his favorite movie. What is your favorite movie?
Interstellar.
Interstellar. That's a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
With what's his name?
Matt McConaughey.
Yeah, he's phenomenal in that movie, and it makes you think a lot about physics. I watched the Neil deGrasse Tyson video where he kind of reviewed it, and he actually said that the planet that has the giant water, the giant wave, he talked to the author and was like, that wouldn't happen like that. The wave couldn't go around the planet. And then the author explained to him the wave's not going around the planet. The planet is rotating under the wave. And it was like,
that's crazy.
Holy shit, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's so good. Next question is toots, boots, boosts, or tweets? Or whatever. Toots. I like toots as well. I don't care if people think they're infantile. It's a funny name.
And it's been like that since like what, 2017 or something. Like it's been toot forever. Like you can't change us.
And that's what elephants do. They toot.
Yeah.
Right? Tennis balls, meatballs, or eyeballs?
Meatballs.
Meatballs are good. Do you like them? What kind of meatballs? Like, do you like them spicy meatballs or like meatballs?
Yeah. Not too spicy though. Not too
spicy. Okay. Tennis balls are great for the dog, and obviously eyeballs are good, but meatballs are great. All right. So the next question is, what does an alternative universe Daniel Supernaut do?
Fixes cars.
Fixes cars. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I reached out to an alternative universe Daniel Supernaut. I have a magic phone here. Don't ask. It just works. And alternative universe Dan invented a line of hydraulic platform shows that costs a monthly subscription, and the more you pay, the higher you're lifted. So it really is those that make the most money have the best view in life. Don't ask me. I don't know. I just called him. I didn't make it up on the spot. When you replace the toilet paper roll, is the paper over or is it under?
It's over.
Thank God you're a human. I don't know whoever does it under.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Can't trust somebody that does under.
I mean, these monsters, right? Like, went to a friend's house, it was under. I took my kids and said, never again. Who does that? And you got to pay attention, right? Like, this is important in life. It's got to go over, man.
Yeah.
Sorry. And as usual, the last question will be sent to you telepathically. I'll send it and then I'll let you know, which of course you already know because you got it because we're telepathic. But for chat, then they'll know to wait. And then you just give me your answer. All right? Okay, here it comes. Okay, so what's your answer?
Red.
Red. Wow, really? Out of all the options, it's red, huh? Impressive. Congratulations. You got every answer, either correct or incorrect. Good job. Our community member, Becco, was going to deliver your prize, but wait. I'm getting word that Becco was carrying the pictures. He dropped all 9,001 of them, and because they were so dark, they created a black hole that pulled Becco into another dimension. So I apologize immensely. I'll make sure that we 3D print another Becco, and then I'll scold him for losing your prize. So
thank you.
Yep. You got to keep them in line, right?
Yeah.
But that's all we have for episode 10 of Fireside Fedi. Thank you so much to my special guest, Daniel. And Daniel, thank you seriously so much for all the hard work that you've done to help create a more free internet where people have real choice and giving your code back to society. Thank you to all the Fedizens around the world. Never forget, you're all wonderful folks deserving of happiness and love. Let's share love, empathy, and compassion among the Fediverse. Let's all be the main feature that brings folks to the Fediverse. We control our own future. Don't forget to tip your platform admins and the developers. And remember, people and protocols over platforms. So thank you guys very much.